Okay, welcome to another edition of my shop update. Last I left, I think I showed you where the state of the art was for where they were doing the air conditioning and everything else. I've now got everything in and assembled, so let me just go back to the beginning. I had a Lennox mini split put in. So far it's really good. I like it a lot. It is probably more expensive than I needed, and I'm sure I overpaid to begin with anyway. I know nothing about AC. I went through Costco, so while I did get a rebate through just the Costco various rebates and stuff and cash cards and checks and all that stuff, still cost me over $6 grand. It is enough to do a 3-car garage. It's Series 16, although there were 2 stickers on there. Heat mode said 16, cooling mode said 19. I don't know if one was an error or not. The installer ripped them off as he cleaned up the system, so I never got a chance to look. Officially on Lennox's website, it's listed as a Series 16. I had an electrician come in and put various outlets in. These are all the same circuits. However, just to make it clear, I have an A, a B, and then the 4 gangers divided vertically, so it's actually 4 separate circuits, but they're all labeled. I only did them near the door and on this wall. I did not think about going anywhere else just because of cost at the time. I had a finite budget for doing everything I needed in here, and that included these cabinets, which are mostly for me, but there is some home storage in here. I have my chemical cabinet and finishing supplies, which also doubles as a clamp rack, and it also holds my commercial grade veneers. I say commercial grade. These came from an old timer, one of my woodworking clubs, who retired from woodworking completely. He's just in his 90s, and he had all these, and they're all like, you know, those 64th of an inch type, really finicky, will crack on you in a moment's notice type veneers. When I do my own type of resawing veneering, I tend to go more like a 1/16 of an inch, maybe even a little thicker. I just like that feel. Easier to work with for me. Less bleed through with the glues and such. So I had 2 extra lights put in. I think I'm going to get some more in here. The goal was for the wife to park in the garage here. Everything I have is now on wheels. My lathe isn't on wheels exactly, but I use this little cart from Harbor Freight to jack it up and move it around when I need to pull it away from the wall so I can do my work, and then I just shove it back up against the wall. It's a little messy here. I still need to find something to do with these cords. I put the tool chest in. I didn't want to have I had probably 5 or 6 homemade shelving units. Shelving's probably wrong. Cabinets that I just couldn't figure out what to do within here, so I bought one of those Harbor Freight specials with their everything on sale and then an additional 20% off coupon, and everything fits in there nicely, and I even have a few extra drawers so I can clap some more stuff into. A small 4x4 pegboard for things that don't go nicely, and I started putting shelving up here on this wall, and this is my first real hitch. There's something that's preventing me from drilling through in the back here. The house next to me is still under construction, the same model as mine, so I went and looked. I don't see anything that would prevent me from drilling through. Drywaller was there. He can't figure it out, but he actually came over and also tried to drill through it. He couldn't, but he wasn't the same guy who did it. So he thinks this may not be your standard drywall, because right behind there is the laundry room. So he's thinking this might be hardy board or something, or something a little bit stronger, just because there's water and such, right? The laundry room and everything else. So that's why. Everything else went into studs. So in fact, I followed the tape line, and that's how I got these in. This shelf from Rubbermaid, the shelving system, it's supposed to be expandable down. Can hold about 1,500 pounds. It's really a cleat mount, which I like, and then you screw the rest in. So once you get on the cleat, you just sort of level it vertically and go. So far, it's really just meant to cover the stuff I'd reach for my table saw. I wasn't planning on using it as a lumber rack, although I may take the top shelf and put some of the lumber up there that I rarely ever use, like the fancy woods. I got my table saw on wheels, and the extension is also on the extended wheel kit. Entire kit was about $150 from Jet. Actually, well, the Jet kit I got on Amazon. Around about $150 with shipping because I had Prime, right? So I didn't pay for shipping. I downgraded my miter saw station. I had one of those nice ones where you have flip up sides, so you can have like a 12-foot board to break it down, but it just wasn't working right here. I guess I can rebuild it and put these types of drawers in there, so it does double duty, and I'm thinking of doing that. But the other one was just a big open crevice for sort of like the way I've done my drill press table here, which is holding bandsaw blades and drill bits and other miscellaneous crap, which I gotta figure out how to get up here. Bandsaw, I'm thinking of replacing the bandsaw base with a wooden item, sort of like the way my drill press table is, and just put some drawers versus this stand that's right there. That way I can, or an open sided item for the base, so I can put the bandsaw blades with the bandsaw versus with the drill press. And I'll free up some space. Novelty for me is a sink in the garage. The wife is happy. I'm no longer getting doors dirty or anything, so that's good. You know, the gas water here, of course. Drum sander, currently doing some storage. I was actually just emptying some bins, and those are two items I didn't put away yet, but we're getting there. Jointer, belt sander, and sanding supplies. There's like all sorts of stuff in here. Spindles, belts, blocks, disc sanders, micro mesh, various sandpapers in there. So box, so that's all pen blanks and bowl blanks. A lot of it. My grinding station, it's currently set up for a Wolverine jig. Right now it's just a standard base with it, but I always put my jigs away when I'm not using them because these bars are pretty darn long and they would stick out like crazy and poke me if I didn't. So every time I'm done, I put them away behind. Don't know why I got a square and tape measure there. We'll get those put away. Like I said, I've got to get the cables put away. I've been doing this really cheap bench for a good part of 15 years now. Ooh, longer than that. It's just 2x4s on wheels. On one side, there's no wheels on the back half, and I'm using a solid core door as the top. It works, and when the door gets really screwed up, I just go spend $35 for another one to replace it. Thinking of shrinking this down because what happens I find is when I have a big bench, it becomes storage like you see here. When I had a smaller bench, everything got put away. Inside these little cabinets here, I've been using it for tool storage, right? There's more clamps, clamping supplies. That bin is all clamps. I got clamps and clamp parts for like making pipe clamps and stuff below. Of course, I got my dado blade there. My new shop helper, that's another thing that we recently have, is we adopted 2 rescues, a Shar-Pei and a Staffordshire Terrier, and they need a lot of, well, what's the word I'm looking for? Behavioral modifications. They had no boundaries, and we're working on them. This bin here will eventually get emptied in the next few days. It's cleaning supplies. It's stuff that belong. We got liners for cabinets in the main house. Tools I rarely use. I rarely use my Dremel or oscillator or heat gun, so they're over there. Some turning supplies there, other than that box joint jig. There's a face shield and some clamps and stuff like that in that bin. This one here is currently wood storage and tile and other whatnot from the house when they built it, the extra laminate flooring. I won't do laminate again. It's not that I don't like it. It came out nice. My use case was I have a home office, so rolling chairs and such. And turns out the wheels on today's modern chairs tend to be plastic. And they don't roll so well without scratching on the laminate. So I had to put down those little plastic protectors, which sort of defeats the purpose. Don't know what I'm going to do in here yet, right? I've got some sanders in here, a benchtop spindle sander and disc belt sander. There's all my toolboxes from the various power tools. Believe it or not, most of those are full. I tend to put my tools away. I'm thinking maybe getting rid of these, which would collapse things down, but I just haven't figured out how I'm going to set things up. Sheet sandpaper or radio to listen to. You know, this would be a perfect place to put another outlet, so I can just open the door and play music. Tons of color pencils for turning. That was a mistake. And then all my shop manuals, believe it or not, are in this. I have every single manual for every tool I've ever bought. Underneath all these do-rags and paper towels is a router table. I'm not a big router user. I used to be. But lately, for the last few years, I've been doing things I really haven't needed a router for. But I'm thinking of replacing the extension table in my table saw with a, getting those router inserts and doing a lift and such in there, just to free up some space in here. Maybe put some more lower cabinets, like a set of lowers or something in here. So, like I said, get some more lighting. Maybe have the electrician run some more, either additional circuits or just additional outlets around here, so I can bring more tools out. And I'm guessing the wife will not be able to park in here, just because I sort of like having the space. Previously at my other house, I had the whole 3-car garage to myself, so she's parked in here a little bit, but I'm beginning to think once I really start working on things again, this room I'm not going to want to clean up every day. Could maybe move things over off the pad and over a bit, but we'll see. So that's all I've got for now. Any questions or feedback and maybe ways I can improve? Next project up is going to be a clamp rack that I'm going to try and hang here, even though I'm having difficulties. Just because when I pull the table saw out, I still don't walk underneath these areas. So it's a good place to put a clamp rack then, because the table saw doesn't go all the way up against the wall because I leave the fence on. So if the clamp wrapping protruding a bit for like the few inches that the bars of the clamp would stick out. And I'm debating whether or not to make use of these high ceilings, but if I do that, I gotta be careful if I want to put more lights in, because you know how that'll make things go. Oh, one last thing. To keep the cool air in, I covered up this bottom vent. I have this vent like that, and down there. I'm gonna take it off. It's a frame, which I screwed in then a piece of OSB onto the frame. I'm gonna take it off and just put some silicone caulk, coat the bottom of it in case water gets in there and pools a little bit. I don't need it pooling on the drywall or anything, so I'll just let it, if it's got enough silicone caulk there, just going up a couple inches up the sides everywhere and coated, it can run out or just evaporate. The outside's open, so it'll evaporate out. And that is it for this installment. Thank you.